Hello everyone, welcome to today's stream. My name's RBG and we are back after what has been about a year, maybe even longer since our last online stream. But I'm joined today for our race by the beautiful Alistair. Alistair, hello, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing alright. It's a pleasure to be back. Been a long while. We've shifted games and I'm excited to get into things.
Yeah. So last time we actually did this stream, we were we were on GT Sport, and it was must have been the middle of last year.
Must have been, yeah. It feels like a long time ago now, but yeah.
I had a spawn that I had to rear until it was old enough to not scream it in the middle of the night, or me and my very excited commentary waking up my child in the middle of the night would get me in trouble. I don't like being in trouble though.
That's one thing I know about you, Rob. You hate being in trouble.
Even though my middle name is Trouble. So what we've got on tonight, tonight we've got a race, which is a good thing because it's a racing game. And tonight we have, and I'll get the details up on screen, we have a race at Deep Forest Raceway Reverse, so the reverse version of the new track, Deep Forest Raceway. This is in the Megane Trophy GR4, so a nice, slow and stable racing car. Should see some nice, neat and clean racing, hopefully. 27 laps, so it should last around about the 40-minute mark, this race. We're starting with a 10-minute qualifying session. And tonight we are allowed 2 compounds, racing softs and racing mediums, but you have to wear those tyres at some point through the race. Tyre wear and fuel is at times 7 each, so we're going to see a lot of tyre wear, a lot of fuel wear, hopefully see a bit of strategy come into play. The refuel rate, which is something they recently added into the game, actually has a huge impact, and basically, obviously, it kind of dictates how long it takes to refuel your car, which, when that's really low, makes fuel saving a lot more kind of a stronger strategy to play. This is set to 5 litres, so that is actually quite a slow refuel rate, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Time of day we're starting at sunrise at times 18, so not sure if we'll get to darkness by the end of this race, but certainly get through a good progress of the day. We don't do any tuning here. We can't be bothered with that. That's too much effort. We just like to get on the car and get on the track and go. So this is a BOP on race with no tuning involved, and a lot of other settings that I'm not going to read through individually, because that would be a complete waste of your time, of my time, and everyone's time, and most importantly be a waste of Al's time, which I think is the most important here. Hey Al?
They can always pause and read it if they need to, or probably by now, after we've talked through things, they have read enough.
Exactly.
Exactly. We've all learned that when presenting at school with our PowerPoint presentations. You put the information on the screen, you do not read the slide, you let everyone else read the slide.
Arguably, I could have not. I read all that out and just talked about something else and let the people read it for themselves, really. It's kind of patronising, really, for me just to sit here and read it out loud. But there you go. Other than trying to review how our commentary is going, just have a quick chat and check in the chat. We have Lazy in the chat. Evening, Lazy. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. I'm surprised you're not out of track on Lazy, but I think we might have a full lobby tonight, which might be the good reason why he's not. Speaking of, let's get the information up. So we are due to start this race at 9 PM UK time, so that gives us about 9 minutes until the qualifying starts. So we're just in pre-practice here. Everyone out on track. It's my favourite sort of racing now, where everyone's in the same car. Really just comes down to driver ability rather than who's got the advantage in certain car, or there's certain cars that are better on the straight, certain cars that are better through the corners. When you're in a race, what's your preference? Do you like to have a pick and choose between cars and feel like you've got a bit of an edge in certain areas so you can know where to overtake, or do you like to everyone in the same car and it's kind of driver versus driver? What's your preference?
I think that there's normally a difference. If I am racing, then I like to have the difference in cars. So I'd like to be able to kind of know that I've got the advantage on a corner or on a straight, because I'm not the best driver in terms of actual skill on skill.
Yeah.
But when I'm watching it, I love when it's the same car, because that just means that you are watching, and any difference is down to tactics, it's down to skill, so you can really start to analyze what they're doing, how they're doing it, and how that is actually affecting their race, instead of just going, is this a strategy? Are they messing something up? Are they doing really well? Or is it just car versus car?
So what you're seeing here out is this lobby's been open for about 30 minutes and we're already getting to night time. So it seems like to me we are going to see some nighttime racing. Obviously last time we were doing commentary. We were on GT Sport, and GT Sport very much had a fixed time period. One of the new features they added into GT7 is a dynamic time, so races can shift through time and it can start raining at certain points. We're not due any rain for tonight's race, so we don't have to worry about any of that going on. So really it's just a case of trying to be aware of when the time of day starts to get a bit colder, because really what happens when the track when it gets to a bit darker, the track gets a bit cooler. It means you get a bit less grip in the car and you can't go quite as quick. So that's something drivers are going to have to bear in mind when they're figuring out their strategy, especially since obviously they're going to have to wear both the soft and the medium tyre. It's kind of really, do you want to have the softest compound where you're at the point where you got the lowest grip on track, or do you want that the other way around? Do you want the hardest compound at that point? I suppose that's what drivers out there have got to have a think about when they're putting their strategies together for this race.
I think so. I think there's no set strategy, which is always good. Obviously, you'll have the drivers who pin together what they think is their strongest performance, what their strongest assets are. Some might go for the softer tyres as it starts to get darker, but I think we'll see that progress during the race. And with this movement in time that GT allows us, GT7, it's good because as you can see an evolving strategy, you have to think on your feet. You can't just sit back and go, this is my one strategy for the race. It's gonna take me all the way through.
It's You're gonna have to a one size fits all, is it? There's a lot more variables to consider rather than just how many laps there are in this race.
Exactly, and if you're battling it out early on, you might have put a bit like you're taking corners a bit too hard just to get that extra edge on whoever you're battling. Mm-hmm. And you've worn your tyres too early, it starts getting dark, you start realising that the grip's going on weaker tyres, and that's your strategy out the window. It's good to see that evolving thing, allows the drivers to think on their feet, well, in their car, and at least sort of helps them make it a bit more interesting for us and helps them learn if they're new to the driving scene, or at least trying to kind of pick up their skills a bit more.
Well, I'll tell you what we can do next. We can have a look at the season standings as they are so far. So this is how the season is playing out so far. We've had 2 rounds so far. This is a round 3 of, I believe, a 6-round season altogether. So this is very much going to be the halfway point of the season at the end of this race. And we would have wrapped up the first half of the season. We've got the huge season favourite, Tonkonen, who's really kind of, I'd be very surprised if he doesn't actually win every race this season. He's a very, very fast driver. And we don't have any of the other sort of, we've probably got about 2 or maybe 3 drivers that could match him in the community, but they have not entered into this season, so I can't really see anyone be able to overturn a Tonkin and be able to run away the season. So it really is a fight for P2, and it's going to be one hell of a fight because we have a lot of closely matched drivers here. So we've got KJM 100 who got P3 and P2 in the last 2 races. We've got Crazy Taff, our boy from Wales, in 2 and 4. Schmergen got 4 and 7. Evil Cat is 5th with 7th and 5th. Ash is also in 5th, tied 5th with 6th and 6th. Digital Blasphemy is in 7th with 5th and 11th, and Edinburgh Lad in 8th with just a P3, missing out on the first round. Now I would argue that pretty much any one of those names I have just read out could finish in P2 here, so it's going to be a real strong kind of guessing game in terms of who's going to grab that 2nd place and really 3rd place as well. So be interesting to see how this podium finishes out. Be really good. So yeah, it's going to be quite a close season in terms of that respect, but in terms of the front runner, I don't think anyone really, and I think anyone who's in this race already knows that Tonkonen is very much the clear favourite to take tonight.
Some familiar names that I recognise in that leaderboard from the last time around, and for me personally, it'll be interesting to see kind of how they've progressed over sort of the last year or so.
Yeah.
Kind of Crazy Tab, Ash, Digital, yeah. Edinburgh Lad, Lazy. Those are all names that are kind of familiar to me, and I've seen them race before. I've commentated on them before. Ironically, Edinburgh Lad's in 8th, and I think the last time I saw him, he only ever finished 8th.
It was 9th actually. That was his magic number, yeah, 9th. So
yeah,
we'll keep an eye on Edinburgh Lad. If he finishes P9, I think I'm gonna delete the entire Discord because it's just too much.
I think I might be his curse.
So we are getting ready for qualifying now. The room's being prepared. Our host is just resetting the lobby at the moment. Looks like we're going to have 10 drivers on track. We've had a few people leave the room. We've got to join another lobby. Right, I've just seen.
Looking
We'll
forward
just
to.
work out what's happening. What I'm going to do whilst this is going on, I'm just going to put on a hold screen whilst we get sorted with our lobby hosts. So, apologies, guys. Looks like there must be an issue with the hosting. So we're just gonna. Looks like we're going to be switching lobby host.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing Tonkin race. Never seen them race before, and if judging by the results and obviously what you said earlier, they are just unstoppable. So kind of looking forward to that. Just seeing how they go, analyzing what they're doing, and hopefully providing a bit of insight into how they're doing so well, which is probably they're just good at the game. There we go. You've already got my analysis out the way. Morning
Like
idle,
the
evening
wisdom
rapid.
just flows through you, Al. It really does.
It does. I don't even need to see the race to know that the good drivers are probably going to do quite well. But we will see. Anything can happen in a race. I mean, yeah, there's not the rain to contend with, so you're not sort of looking at, oh, maybe they'll slip up, maybe there'll be a bit of a spin out somewhere. It's going to be more consistent in the dry conditions. So, yeah, probably Tonkin for the win. But like you said, anyone can finish in that P2 position, and I do love a good fight.
A good old scrap.
That's it. Always brings out the best side of people when there's a lot of competition on the line, especially when you get down that straight and about there's 4 or 5 trying to jockey for that position.
Yeah, we're going to be very interested. Like I said, anywhere between that, there's going to be a wide field between P2 all the way down to P10. Wouldn't be able to call it, so it'll be interesting to see who can jostle for position and really kind of showcase their ability on this combination. I'm just still currently trying to find out what the current plan is, so apologies for the delays, folks. We're still not quite at race time.
It gives me time to pick your brain before the race. Could there be how would the rest of the field be able to kind of mitigate Tonkin and give themselves a chance at P1? Is there a way that
if they
can
get
almost
to the Netherlands and cut off his internet, they stand a good chance.
That might be a convoluted route.
What? I don't know what's going on.
I mean, it's always the issue with the internet and settings and lobbies and all that. I don't think there's ever been a race that's just been clean with no internet problems. It's just the nature of the beast of the internet and online gaming at the moment, I'm afraid. I would suggest let his tyres down. Probably a good one. Don't know how you can simulate your guy getting out of his car and slashing someone's tyres, but it's always a good option. Now, I'm not condoning trying to run off the track or sabotage his car in any way. It's to try and unspeakingly get everything involved.
Doing really well, Al. Like I said,
I am.
Keep holding that fort, bro.
No, whilst we're waiting, I'm just gonna ramble on, do what I do best. Yeah, it looks like there's been a bit of jitteriness in the stream, so apologies for that.
Yeah, we're just arranging things.
Because we've got a race, but we've lost our drivers.
Yeah,
so
I know.
It's you can watch an empty track if you like. We can talk to you about the tarmac, the surface. Can't get anyone down there and take the temperature of the track. Do a track walk. I'd love to do that, but I'm not in the metaverse yet. So get Mark Zuckerberg on that pronto, and then I can do a track walk with you. Talk to you about some corners. Some go left, some go right, some list slightly, some have a bit of a divot.
Some go uphill, some go downhill.
I say it's so wild out there. The undulating turns, oof, nasty things. I believe there may or may not be a chicane, rumour has it. It may turn up at some point, it may not, I don't know. But that is the nature of things whilst we wait for the drivers to get back into the race.
Yes.
It seems to be a bit of a lobby issue. It really puts my skills as a presenter on for the test as I figure out how to entertain the lobby without singing a song, Rabbit. I see you egging us on. Only Rob has the voice of an angel. I have the ability to talk absolute nonsense for a long while without ever making sense. And that's why I'm on board. But good to have everyone here. We've got 10 people in watching right now, excited for the race. For those of us who saw the leaderboard early on, I mean, we put our money on Tonkanen taking it. So let's hear who you reckon is going to be the top 3 in the chat. Put it down. Who do you think is going to take the top 3? We seem to have P1 kind of. We're very confident on the choice. But who do you reckon is going to take P2, P3? That's the interesting one. Edinburgh Lad with P3 last round, if I remember correctly. So can he repeat it? Can he do one better? Or can others take the podium from him? We have no idea. Yeah,
apologies, folks. There's a bit of confusion at the moment, so we're still on hold.
Good thing you got me along, Rob?
Yeah, I know, right? Because this would just be dead noise on the stream.
Other than just basically people blanking out the constant monotone ramblings of yours truly. So I know we've moved on to, well, I'm basically skipping ahead for a year here. Moved from GT Sport to GT7. Again, Rob is good at singing Paul Hardcastle 19s. Is this true? Can you sing Paul Hardcastle?
I can certainly try.
That's all we need to know. He's a man of many talents, as our Rob. He can drive, he can sing only Paul Hardcastle, and he can sometimes talk. So we've got a lot here to go for. But that is the beauty of live streaming, is you never know what's going to happen. Yeah, so is everyone enjoying GT7? I think this might be one of the first times I've kind of seen a proper race in it, live race anyway. In GT7, I enjoyed GT Sport when it was out and about. And yeah, I know this game's been out for a little bit. It's not nothing new, well, ish, 2022 release. So can't remember exactly when. Like I said, this year, these months are all blurred into one big mess. But GT7 looks nice. Heard great courses on it, and obviously the adjustment in settings. You can really customize your races, your drives. Up the challenges, lower the challenges if you need to. Yeah, so chat, give me your opinions on the game. How are you enjoying it? How do you think it's different, better, worse from GT Sport? Doesn't have to be anything insightful, just personal preference. Whilst we wait for the lobby to be set up. Hopefully we shouldn't be too much longer. Still an issue with drivers joining the lobby.
Yeah, we're having some
as I look
technical
into
issues.
Just a few minor technical issues, and then we can actually get onto something interesting instead of me rambling away. Usually I've got my games in front of me to help do this, but now I've got to do it off the top of my head. How's everyone enjoying their week? It's Thursday, almost in the weekend. Just about made it. Yeah, it's really, I don't know where everyone else is in the world, but here in the UK, it's really turned to winter quite suddenly. The clocks went back on Sunday, and so now everything's dark and miserable at about 4 o'clock. So it's a joy to work through. Yeah, weather's hit us quite hard. It's gone cold and wet within days after being quite nice. So yeah, it's been a long week, this one. So hopefully everyone else is having a bit better week. I know some of you guys are UK based as well. Hopefully, yeah, the whole situation in the UK is not taking everyone too hard. We're still all right. We're almost in an exciting period of the year. Got a few things to look forward to. You got the World Cup coming up. Any football/soccer fans out there? Got a nice bit of the World Cup. We got the lobby is resetting. So yeah, shouldn't be too much longer, but I can keep saying this all day. No idea how much longer it's actually going to be, but I'll just keep telling you it's not going to be too much longer, and then we can hopefully get onto some racing. Yeah, World Cup predictions. Anyone got some favourites? Who do you think is going to win the Football World Cup coming up in a couple of weeks? It's going to be an interesting one. Looking forward to a Winter World Cup. It'll be odd experience. I'm usually out in the gardens, sort of watching the games, enjoying it, kind of in t-shirts and shorts. Miltiadis. I had to lean in real close because my eyesight ain't so good just to pick out the name. Yeah. Calling out for Let's Go Crazy Taff.
Cheering
so
for
already
Taff.
got one.
We've got a Taff fan.
Cheering for Taff.
There's not many of them.
Already got one in. Yeah, but they're the most vocal, so that's what counts. Doesn't matter how big the crowd is, it's always about the noise. That's why an away section can always drown out the home fans. You just have to have that passionate support. And if I was a player, a racer, I think I'd appreciate the noise instead of the numbers. I'd rather have 10 really, really loud fans than 1,000 silent ones.
Right. Apologies. GT7 is a bit of notorious for some technical issues. We have now returned and the drivers are joining back in, so we are running about 10 minutes behind schedule, so apologies everyone. And apologies to you, Alistair. Sterling job you there. If I can always rely on someone to fill a bit of a gap whilst I go and help people out, it's always you, Al. This is why you're here. This is what you do. A co-commentator, isn't it?
Essentially, yeah.
You bring the co into you bring the co into the commentating.
At least I bring something because it's definitely not my knowledge of racing. Okay. I mean, yeah, we had 10 before I started my 10-minute ramble. Now we have 8 watching. So I mean, -2 isn't a bad return for me normally.
No, not at all.
It's usually at least 11 or 12 true tip when I start going on my rambles. Been in this game long enough that I know what I'm worth. It's a good -6.
So we can see already that most people were planning to start their qualifying on the soft tyres. So we have a rule that we do in our league racing, which is the tyre you want to start your racing is the tyre that you qualify on. Tonkanen going for a bit of a different approach, going on the mediums there, as we can see.
Well, that might be the one to go for, considering Tonkanen is the one.
To be fair, he could go out there in hards and still win the race. So I've known him to take a few extra pit stops just to make it more fun for himself. So, like I said, I wouldn't expect much.
Right.
But like I said, you never know. A few spins and that he might find himself in a tricky position. Who knows?
Exactly. Even the best teams come undone at least once or twice in their career.
Exactly. But I'm calling it now. I'm calling it from the off. Miltiadis is a guy who races us pretty often. He's
welcome along. Good to have you here.
All the way from the lovely country of Greece.
Very good. Would have guessed it from the name.
No, I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have been able to place it.
No, I mean it doesn't sound Greek at all. Definitely not.
Right.
Yeah, lovely to have you here from Greece. Good side of the world to be in.
Cool. So we are just waiting for the guys to rejoin before we kick off quali.
Flying the flags at the moment. We've got two Dutch, a Norwegian, and a lot of Brits. That's what I like to see.
So it's it's a true pro commentary where you can hear a guy trying to very slowly open a bottle of pop without his microphone picking it up. So it's not very discreet, is it really?
I mean, I like to put us in the level of cricket commentators when you've been sitting there for a day, so you get a bit more relaxed with the whole commentating thing, and you just eat your piece of cake, you have your cup of tea there. I mean, if you just got a free day, you stick on the cricket and just see what the commentators are up to. If it's like a day test, it's quite weird. I mean, one of them just received mail in the middle of it, just opened up mail. I think it was some fudge or something. So. Yeah, it does get odd. I like to put us in that sort of category. So we can open up our pops. We can sit here with our fudge and cakes and
Looks like Miltides
teas.
has just joined the room, and Schmergen joined the room. They've called out the start of the quali time at 2:15, so we are getting a few more drivers appear up now. Again, apologies everyone for the delays in getting it on the road. On the road, Al. You know what? This is what we do.
It is. We unintentionally put out some good humour because.
I mean, I wouldn't say good, but
we try.
The good's a bit strong.
Yeah, that's not like us.
No, not at all. So,
Gareth in there wishing everyone
Taff
good
has
luck.
just reset the lobby, so that usually means we are close to quali, because that resets everyone's times and wipes out all the times.
About time the stream is back. I agree, Gareth. About time the stream is back. I have missed doing this. Talking absolute nonsense for a long, long while.
Yeah. I blame it on my breeding habits, which I often do. Yeah, this is it.
Yeah, see, we both often do things. It's two peas in a pod. That's why we work so well.
This is it.
We're men who do generic things together. Looking forward to
pretty goddamn vanilla.
We are very.
And we love it.
There was one description of us. It was vanilla bean. We had never much. Lobby crashed again, apparently.
I don't know. We're losing a lot of drivers again. I have no idea what's going on.
So is this because you said there's common issues with GT7 on this. Yeah. Is this a usual thing to happen? A lot of lobby issues. Is this something the game is?
I mean, the game is a bit notorious for it. Yeah, it is.
Which is quite bizarre for a game that's been out for, I mean, not a long time, but at least this long. Surely they would have fixed something as major as lobby issues.
I mean, you'd be surprised. Polyphony Digital have kind of got himself a bit of a reputation, and there's a lot of the fan base not happy. I mean, the last game was GT Sport. GT Sport was built to be their attempt to bring the Gran Turismo franchise into like the esport arena. It was made to be very online friendly. Had a lot of problems at launch, but in general was relatively stable towards the end of its life cycle. And GT7's come out, and again, it's in that similar kind of early game kind of state. And there are things that were in GT Sport that are not in GT7. It feels like in some ways a bit of a roll backwards as opposed to a move forwards.
Interesting. So it's has there been kind of, from what you've noticed when playing the game and just in your general being around it, much that's actually improved that you would say that GT7 is worth a step up?
The driving's better, which is ultimately what it's all about. You know, the driving feels a lot more precise and a lot more. I'd say definitely when the game came out, it felt lost quite a lot less arcadey, and I'd say there's been updates since that have driven it a bit closer to that arcadey feel. But it's definitely a better driving experience. But all the features around it are less, which, you know, is a shame in a way. Like, for example, you know, we're doing this stream now, Al, and if you remember when we used to stream before, I could use my keyboard, which for me, from a streaming point of view, I like to try and present a clean stream. So what you can do when you've got a keyboard is I can press the number corresponding to the person that I want to be watching, which makes it feel a lot more seamless. And I can switch camera angles using the keyboard, which, you know, hides a lot of the HUD and stuff like that, which just makes it feel a lot more kind of friendly for stream. And then most importantly, it had a replay feature.
Oh, that was useful.
That we could use, where if a lot happens during a race, and obviously we can only watch one car at a time. Now, if what we used to do is we used to keep an eye on the track map, and if I saw someone spin or something like that, I could press something called the replay marker on my keyboard, and then I could press a button to rewind a certain time before that marker and watch that through a replay, which allowed me pretty much to be able to catch things on track, even if I missed them, which is a really helpful tool to be able to see what happens in a race. So, you know, there's things we've lost by moving to GT7, which is a shame. We can't hold a proper qualifying session. We have to hold a qualifying session during the practice session, which is looks like we're just starting out for qualifying now.
Yeah, well, the artist is saying qualifying in 1 minute. Thank you for all the updates. Our man on the inside. Very helpful. Thank you.
So I'm going to bring us back to gameplay now, and qualifying has now begun with our drivers out on track, going out on their out laps. KGN leading the field, followed by Tonkin, followed by Taff, then Evil Cat, then Lazy Dutchman, Lost Soul, Miltitus, who got out there on track, snuck in. He was in chat, then he was on the track.
And then getting stuck into the racing. Very, very talented.
We have Lazy on track at the moment, and Nicholas and Snod still sat in the pit waiting to go out.
No, it's nice to see a splash of blue on that leaderboard. A lot of red, just generally the flags. A lot of red, white, and blue.
So we're now coming around.
Yeah, got white and blue. Just an observation.
So we're sitting on board at the moment with KJN. We'll use the cockpit view. Sitting on board with KJN, who's just coming around now to the final corner, and we're hitting out his first hot lap. Tonkin not far behind to probably benefit from slipstream. Also remembering as well that Tonkin is on the racing medium tyre, so has a little bit less grip. So a little bit of slipstream's not going to hurt him at all. So KGN is coming up to our first turn. Nice flat out right-hander, where we come up to what is going to be the tightest hairpin, as you can probably see on the track map. Really tight right-hander, going up to a long straight, so very important turn this one here, Al. In general, rule of thumb is the longer the straight afterwards, the more important the turn is before it, because the more straight line speed you get means it's more important to come out that corner as fast as possible to gain the edge on that straight. So as we hammer down,
and all in those first few turns, it looks like having that knowledge of the course and that ability to know when the corners are coming and how tight they are is very, very important, because that coming up to that hairpin, it was almost blind.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't know what's coming, you're probably in the wrong race.
But if your course awareness isn't as good as it should be, then
definitely.
I think you would struggle on that one. Either you'd hit that too hard, or you'd slow down trying to anticipate that hairpin. So this is we're studying the course. Actually has a huge impact.
Yeah. So we come through the windy back section now down to the final turn, which is a nice wide hairpin, coming round now again to the long straight. Again, another important turn, that final turn. So really it's the final turn and the first turn are the two that you really want to nail right to get the most out of your lap time. KGN's coming over at 34.5 with Taff beating out at 133.3, current leader for pole. He was a couple of positions behind. Tonkin got a 135.7, so a little bit out of it there. Lost a little bit of pace, must have lost a little bit of grip, or just might have actually purposely dropped off just to give himself a bit of track space so he could have a proper run at it and see if he gets a good time. KJN, that was Schmergen coming in with a time there, 133.9. Great time from him there. Really just put himself up there. We should see him quite high up in grid order, but we do have 10 minutes of quali to go. Well, probably not to go. We've probably got another 5 minutes or so of quali to go, but we have some time left of quali to go.
So what are we looking for in terms of lap times? We've got a gap here of 1:35.
I reckon by the end of this quali we will see the 32s. I reckon the 32s we'll see happen by the end of this quali. But for now, we're going to jump on with our race favourite, Tonkin, see how he's doing in his sectors, see if he's running purple. Because he's going to be, as I said, the one to watch in terms of race pace. So he's running 1.5 seconds in front of his best time, so he's got a great time on here. Not fast enough to take pole position. If he keeps it at this rate, he's going to have to find an extra bit of time there in order to take pole position from away from Taff. But he's not far off it as he comes around the final turn. Benefit again, a bit of slipstream from Taff in front of him. Coming over the line now with a 133.4, so he does take pole position 4 tenths ahead of Taff. Taff with a lot of pace behind him, breathing down his neck. Only half a tenth away is Schmergen in third place, and then behind him we've got KJN, who is in a comfortable little gap there, but he still has Snod, who's only 2 tenths behind, and even close behind that, only what, a quarter of a tenth is Evil Cat, who is closing in and seeing if he can get himself a bit higher, but he does lose control of the car there. It's just going to be, unfortunately, impacting this lap and probably the lap after. Oh, actually, no, this is the hairpin. That's fine. Lost Soul holding on to P7 there. Got himself a comfortable gap from the person in P8, which is Nicholas, who has got to gain 7 temps on himself in order to find himself moving up positions. Let's stay with him for a moment and see what happens as he goes when he comes over the split time line. Which I believe there's one around here somewhere. If not, we'll just wait for him to the end of the lap and see if he can improve his positioning.
So he's on his out lap.
That's what it says actually. Great spot there, Al, but sometimes we can't be completely trusted with what's going on, so he might have just come out really late to try and put in a lap, make sure he's at the back. But we'll see what happens. You're absolutely right, yeah, that was his out lap, so we're not interested in that whatsoever. Lazy, you can see he's on his best there at the moment. Current best is a 136.5, that was giving him P9. Actually needs to improve because he's put out the slowest lap time yet. The two in there, Evil Cat and Multiders, are yet to put in a lap time. They might be just trying to run out this from the back. But let's see how Lazy gets on, see if he can pull himself up a few places. Currently out there on racing mediums, that might be playing a factor of why he's a little bit behind in pace, but he might be playing something in terms of the race strategy. Sometimes it's not a bad thing being in the final place on the grid. Allows you to build a bit of distance, get your head down and focus, and then sort of make that tying up in the pits or later on in the race when you've got a bit of clear space.
I think I saw Miltidus was also sticking on the mediums. So we've got a few running that strategy of starting off on the mediums, and yeah, kind of see how it works out.
Most of them started on softs, by the looks of it.
Yeah, I think the majority of the field looks like they're going to be running softs.
Yeah.
So maybe we're looking at these guys in the medium trying to just keep running as long as they can on those tyres and get enough of a gap to then pit on the softs and have a sprint at the end.
So Lazy finds himself 3 temps up here, so he can improve on his time coming into the final corner. He's got to just hit this turn a bit better than he has been through the quali session and hopefully make up a bit more time, a few more temps, and he'll be able to get past Lazy Dutchman in 9th. Let's see how he comes over the line with a 1. Yes, he's improved that one by 6 temps, gaining a position on Lazy Dutchman, putting himself into P8. Well done there from Lazy. Let's go and see what's backing up at the race. We can see Tonkonen still holding on to a position, but not by much, only by half a 10. We are followed by Schmergen. Remembering that Schmergen's on the soft tyres, you can see how much those tyres are starting to wear now on Schmergen. Won't be losing anything in terms of pace or grip yet, but certainly just makes him think about what he's going to do. He looks like he's going into pit to change him to get himself a fresh set. Probably not a bad idea. Taff kind of in half a second in front, half a second behind situation. Hasn't yet improved from his first lap, which was a 1:33.8. He's going to have to find himself a little bit of time. Let's sit on board with Taff a little bit and see how he does in this lap as he comes up to the first hairpin. If he stays in front of his time, we'll keep on board with him. If not, we'll jump on down to someone else. He does miss the apex a little bit on that hairpin.
A bit of a harsh turn there. Had to do a lot of braking, and that's going to take a bit of time out because he was right up at the end of. Well, you see that he was out and just in front of him, but yeah, now there's a bit of a gap forming.
Like I said, a very important turn. He finds himself 1 tenth down on his best, so he's going to have to find that time some other point in this lap. Let's drop back now and see if we can jump off someone who's pushing their times, not just going over the line, half a second over his best, so he's still trying to improve on his P5. He's going to have to find a little bit more pace in order to do that. Lost Soul currently sitting in P7, coming round to the final bend. We have no idea if he's up or down on his time at the moment. Misses the apex a little bit there, but recovers it quite well, getting a lot of push out of that corner, but maybe losing that pace he might have needed if he was on a good time. Let's see what he gets as he goes over the line with a 1:35.1, which is half a second over his best, so not able to make an improvement there again. We can see Lazy Dutchman's made an improvement on his time and going above Lazy now in P9. And Lost Soul's currently in pit, so we can wait for him and he'll go back into position, which actually put Lazy back to P10. KJN on board with a minute, putting in some good times. Only a fraction of a tenth behind Crazy Taff. Barely 1 tenth. So he's going to have to try and find that time on this lap if he can. Stay on board with him and see how he's doing as he goes over the sector line. If he's up on his time. He is up by just over the gap he's got between him and Taff, so let's see what he can do to maybe start the grid on a podium position. If he
Yeah,
gets
he's
it.
going to need to run the rest of this lap pretty flawlessly if he's going to be pressing on that time, because I think a slight slip up and he's dropping back.
Oh,
His last 2 lap times not fantastic considering he got a 1:33 kind of in the middle of all of it.
Yeah.
So we know he's
really been close to it since, but we'll see here as he goes over the line for the sector. He's actually a little bit down his time, about 1/10 down his time, so he's going to have to find a couple of attempts in this last sector in order to pull up into that podium place.
Yeah, some of the lines weren't the cleanest he could have taken. A few edging off the tracks, few little bumps, which would slow down the car just ever so slightly, but it's enough. It's when you're really pushing the times this tight, it's just enough that it will be, unfortunately, settling down, probably sticking where he is at the moment. But
and he comes down half a second down, and it looks like this is the end of the qualifying session as cars are parking up now. So we'll stay on board with who's coming over the line now, which it is Crazy Taff, weaving around, so I don't imagine he's on. He's 7/10 down on his best, parking up. KGN's parked up there. So we'll stay on board with Snod, who I think is the person who is probably going to be closing out our qualifying period. And I think we've got a good idea of our order, with a Tonkanen taking first position, Schmergen taking second, Crazy Taff taking third, KGN taking fourth, Evil taking fifth, Snod, who's currently on the lap. Looks like he might have sat off there a little bit. We'll see what he's like as he goes over the time. Snod, if he doesn't improve here, in 6th. Lazy Dutchman in 7th. Lazy in 8th. Milton in 9th. And that might change a little bit because, quite honestly, these two are sitting in pit, which causes an issue to the grid order as you're reading it out. So the grid order I read out might not be a complete reflection of what's going to happen, such as the way with GT7. And we will wait now for the race to get started.
Saying Milton's probably listening to the commentary to find out what others are doing on track. Intelligent guy, our Milton.
That does sound like him.
If he was intelligent, he would not be listening to me talk about tactics.
This is true.
Because boy, if he follows that, he's going to do the wrong thing.
We are just getting to race start now. I've got to do a little quit to menu and come back due to a glitch that's on this game, which is at this point, which allows me to keep the cinematic angle. And we are off for today's race. We're on board with Tonkanen. At the top of this grid, we can see, looking back, we've got quite a tight pack, people jostling for position. And let's just get the race settings up, the race information up. We're sat on board with Lost Soul at the moment, sat behind this pack. You can see quite a wide spread coming into this first pair. Pin is going to be quite a dangerous turn here. A lot of possibilities to make an overtake, make a move. And we can see Evil Cat is alongside KGN, so we'll jump on with Evil Cat here, see if he can make a move up on KGN. He doesn't look like he's got the run on him, and he's just going to have to probably sit here. So we can see our order now is Tonkanen, Schmergen, KGN, Evil Cat, Lost Soul and Crazy Taff. So it looks like Crazy Taff's the one who's lost out on a few places through the start of that race. As we stay on board with Evil Cat, looking like he's suffering from a little bit of connection issue. You can see the car kind of waving around a little bit. That's due to his connection not being absolutely perfect. So we'll drop back to our cinematic angle and drop back a couple positions. See Crazy Taff, who's got Snod in his tail, and he's got Lost Soul up in front of him as well. A few temps up, so find himself in a bit of a sandwich between two cars. Really hard position to be in, because if the person in front slows down for any corners, means you kind of, if it's not a place you can overtake, then you've got to slow down. It leaves you really vulnerable to being overtaking yourself. So it's a bit of a dangerous position. Looks like he was looking to make the move there. He's gone up on the inside. Has he got enough of the car? No, he hasn't. He's had to pull out of that one, and Loss has managed to hold on to that position.
Yeah, good bit of defensive driving there by Loss. Just held his driving line. Taff tried to push that overtake, but sensibly backed off right at the end, because there would have been a collision right into the back of Lost Soul.
Looks like KGN is having a look here at Schmergen to see if he can get a move done, and it looks like he might have backed out of it there. And he's gone up on that inside. He's made his connection there. He's going to have to sit back on that one. Not quite placed to make that move, as he loses a little bit of grip coming out on the exit there, and has to sit and be happy with his P3 and find another opportunity. He's got about a second on. Taff, who's behind it. Looks like we've got quite a pack coming on here. And we'll sit on board with Snod, who's sitting just behind it. Evil Cat looking up on Crazy Taff. Has he got the run on him? Don't think he has. It's going to be a bit of a lunge if he makes a move here. And he's giving him a rear bump. And unfortunately, that was That was unfortunate, outbreaking himself there and hitting the rear of Taff, but it looks like there's been no real harm to Taff, and fortunately Snod has managed to climb a position due to it, so I'm sure everyone would have felt that and been a bit scared. Taff is carrying a little bit of rear damage to his car. He's going to take a little bit of time to have to grind that off, which takes normally, I think we're running it on a light damage, which means that damage wears after about 15 seconds or so. So yeah, you can see that damage is already gone. And he's retained his P4. Has probably lost out a little bit of time on KGN, who's now got almost a 2-second gap on him. But let's have a look back through the race and see what's going on elsewhere on track and see where the tight packs are. So we've got a little pack here of 3 cars of Evil Cat, Lost Soul and Lazy Dutchman. But you can see now the cars are starting to spread out in their packs. Then we've got Lazy, a few seconds behind, finding himself a nice comfortable place there in P9. And Nicholas, a few seconds behind that, racing with Milton, who is currently following up in final position, a few tenths behind. How you find the race so far, Al?
It's coming along as we'd expect it to. Tonkanen is having quite an easy go at the moment in first place. There's a nice battle in that middle pack. I think Schmergen and KJN they're pretty settled for 2 and 3 at the moment. A little battle, so maybe a bit later on we'll find there could be a gap to go for. But the real battle is coming between Crazy Taff, Snod, Evil Cat, and Lost Soul around that area. I think that's going to be probably the area of interest throughout the race, but we'll keep an eye on things as Schmergen is catching up by the looks of things.
Yeah, caught up to Tonkanen to up to a half-second gap. I don't know whether that's a pace he's just keeping up with, or whether or not it's a case that Tonkanen had a bit of a slip and now he's going to pull away again. We'll wait and see what develops on that. But he's actually managed to develop himself a comfortable gap on KGN. If Schmergen gets himself a P2, I reckon he'll be dead chuffed for this, because it's been a while since I've seen Schmergen up in the podium spot, so it'll be great to see him do it. Hopefully he can hold it, and hopefully he can make the strategy play out across the race, because we have got a lot of race to go here. As you can see, how we're in lap 3 of a 27-lap race. Anything can happen, really.
Really can, and don't forget Tonkanen is, I think, still running on the mediums.
He is, yes, absolutely.
So should be slower than pretty much most of the pack who aren't on the mediums. Kind of in.
I think Schmergen will definitely be pleased with keeping up with Tonkanen, but I don't think he'll be trying to trick himself that he's actually going to be able to win this race. I think he'll be very pleased if he does manage to bag himself a P2 and see that as a race win all by himself, really. But he is he is bringing up that gap and getting closer and closer, so maybe it is something in the tyres. Like I said, maybe it's a case of Tonkanen might be holding off so he can have a bit of a race, or it might be a case that Tonkanen had a slip and he's struggling to pull away, as actually Schmergen gets himself a purple time and he's looking for the move here. Let's jump on board, better angle, see if he can make it stick. And they are really starting to develop that gap now between KGN, now up to 2.5 seconds. So really is trying to secure himself in P2 here. Fuel usage though, he is using a little bit more fuel and a little bit more of his tyres than KGN. If you look at the differences there, Tonkanen's actually picked himself up a 1-second penalty, so this is going to be a fantastic opportunity for Schmergen to be able to go past him. Penalty line, I imagine it's on the long straight, but I don't actually know exactly where it is on. Oh, it is actually coming up. You can see now he's going to be slowing down and serving his 1-second penalty, and this will give Schmergen to take the lead in the race.
With Schmergen, it's a good idea just to be sitting behind him and kind of getting that slipstream in, just following along on the coattails of the fastest runner. But often in a race, you kind of want to be sitting behind the person leading the pack and have them almost drag you through the pack and get that gap.
Looks like Crazy Taff's been putting in a bit of a shift, and you can see now he's ground back his gap, which was going up to about 2 seconds, I believe, before when we last checked on him. And he's now catching up to KGN, who himself is catching up to Tonkanen after Tonkanen served that 1-second penalty. Can really hurt if you get a penalty on a long straight, because not only do you serve the 1 second as you go over the line, but just it kills your speed for the rest of the straight, and it can end up feeling like you're getting penalised a lot more than that. And he is closing this gap now between them both. Let's jump on board with him and see if he can develop this. And again, these top 4 here are really started to pull himself a nice gap between themselves and Snod, who's leading out it from P5. Oh, Taff catches what feels like catches a little bit of the wall there, loses a bit of ground there to KGN as he was starting to pull up, but I think he definitely feels like he's got the pace to be able to catch up with KGN if he can get his head down and get back on the job.
Yeah, that was definitely an unfortunate timed error there from Taft, but he's got enough of a gap between him and Snod that it's only closed down by just under a second, but he's still got a good gap where he doesn't need to worry about someone pressing up against him. And yeah, like you said, should be able to work back that time to get up to KJN again.
So looking at this, tyres are probably going to last you about 13 laps, I'd say. 12, 13 laps based on this tyre usage. Fuel is actually going to run out before you lose these tyres, by the looks of it, unless you're purposely trying to save that fuel. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Like I said, we've got a relatively slow, not completely slow, but a relatively slow refuel rate, which means that anyone who is fuel saving is going to gain a bit of benefit, and you can see the different amounts of fuel people are using. Some people are saving a bit more. You can see Miltinis actually saving a lot of fuel there, along with Nicholas. And everyone's fuel levels are relatively flat out, but there are some people who are using it more. You can see Schmergen is burning through his fuel a little more, just trying to get that pace out of his car, and is burning through his tyres a bit more than most other drivers out there. Tonkonen set himself a purple time on the medium tyres, a purple sector on the medium tyres, keeping up with Schmergen, but maintaining about a second gap. KGN, again, 2 seconds behind that, has seemed to drop off a little bit now that Schmergen and Tonkonen have regained. Well, actually, it wasn't really Schmergen who dropped off the pace, it was Tonkonen serving his 1 second penalty, which closed that gap up a bit. Taff has ground down his gap a little bit more, where he did get it down to about half second before, then he had a slip, went back to a second and a half, and now he's back within a second. So he'll definitely be out thinking about how he can possibly climb himself into a podium and do his country proud, which is Wales, for those who can't see, which we can argue about whether it's a country or not, but and we often do.
We do. I mean, is it a principality? Is it a country? Who knows?
Does it count? Does it really count? I
think that answer's lost to the annals of time.
Does it go to the Olympics? You know what I mean? That's what I think.
It goes to the Commonwealth.
What is it? But should it? Ultimately.
Probably, yeah. All countries.
It probably should. But, you know. Inviting a conversation. So you can see Taff losing a little bit of grip there, almost catching the rear of KGN there, completely unattended obviously, but he seemed to lose a little bit of grip coming into that and found himself almost clipping the rear of KGN. That would have been really nasty that if they did make that contact, but fortunately both drivers come through unscathed, and actually Taff doesn't seem to lose anything through that. He actually seems to be gaining some time on KJN, which I'd say are the probably two closest drivers out there on track, looking at track map, with the exception of Tonkonen and Schmergen, who actually were overtaking each other as I was saying that out loud. This is why we need the replay system now.
Yeah, it seems like Tonkonen's quite happy just to sit behind Schmergen and not press too aggressively, knowing that possibly with the tyre wear and the fuel saving.
I imagine if he sees the opportunity, he'll take it, but I imagine obviously he will be, if you sit in the slipstream as well, you'll benefit from even more fuel saving, because you can shift up a bit earlier and achieve the same pace. So you just be using a less fuel and still getting a fast like run out. So he might just be sitting there churning on his fuel.
And it does seem to be a tactic for those in the mediums. I think Miltinis is also great on the fuel, and also seem to be pretty good on the flick through on the tyres as well. So maybe looking for a one-stop strategy, and Tonkonen possibly even the same, just sitting behind Schmergen, letting Schmergen to take the pace, getting that slipstream in, and saving their fuel and tyres.
So you can see making some gains there, getting right up on his rear, see if he can get a better exit, but he kind of loses a little bit of pace on Schmergen there. However, he has got the benefit of slip. I don't think he's got enough of it though to be able to make a move into the next corner and get alongside for this turn, but he's definitely having a sniff.
Gareth joining us saying definitely a country. I mean,
it's definitely, he is pretty Welsh.
Yeah, I was going to say pretty Welsh name.
It is.
So there's no bias on that front. Like, there's no bias here in commentary from the two English guys.
There's quite a lot of bias from me. I'm not gonna lie. So we've still got Taff and KJN embroiled in a close fight, with Taff within that half a second reach. And we've actually are developing a little bit of bat as well between Snod and Evil Cat. Evil Cat grinding down to within half a second of Snod now. So we've got a couple of battles here, like 3 lots of pairs battling for P1, P3 and P5 respectively. And then going back through the grid, we have Lost Soul He'll be pleased with his P7 there, sitting in P7, but with a comfortable gap either side, so really can just keep that pace. He has lost a lot of those tyres though, so he's going to have to think about pitting very soon. A Lazy Dutchman sitting in P8. Again, quite a comfortable gap for him, just needs to try and secure it or try and hop onto a mistake from one of the drivers in front. And Lazy as well, likewise, in relatively comfortable gaps. With Miltide, I believe, probably just sitting at the back, enjoying the drive. I don't think he's actually trying to race properly. I think he's just there to support the race and support the team, supporting the ZFS Racing team livery, which is very nice for him to do. Back up top anyway, let's keep on what's going on. Tonkonen is gaining this time on Schmergen in the long straight going into the right-hander. I don't think, again, he's got enough of a run here to get alongside. Kind of hope for Schmergen to make a mistake and leave his door wide open. Schmergen does lose a little grip there, but holds it absolutely fine. And this is not going to be Schmergen's time. Well, actually, it is Schmergen's time. It's not going to be Tonkonen's time. Again, gaining a lot through those S-bends. Not enough to get past. You can tell he's really trying to find that move if he can.
Yeah, you can see him just peeking out just to try and see if that option's open. But yeah, Schmergen doing well to hold on to things. But you reckon Tonkonen in the next kind of lap or two should be trying to make that move?
I mean, Schmergen is doing really well. I'm really impressed with Schmergen. But Tonkonen's going to win this race. I mean, there's that I still don't have a doubt about, unless he purposely let someone else's win. Or I could be wrong. Schmergen could be just really good at this race, and I'm just not doing him any justice whatsoever. In which case, I'm not even going to apologise for it.
Yeah. Well, it's always up to the driver to prove us wrong in commentary. As you say, that Tonkonen has pipped the lead.
Oh, thank you.
Made that overtake.
The moment I step away, this is why we need the replay system. Schmergen's not going to give up the ghost though. He's going to try and fight back. But look at those tyres, Al. He should have pitted, and he's going to lose a bunch of time. He's got a little bit of fuel in the tank as well, so his car will be nice and light. But those tyres are almost completely dead.
Yeah, those aren't great. They're going to be slipping all over the place. I mean, we saw it in the last lap. There was a bit of slippage every time we made those hard corners.
I know your time on Gran Turismo has been somewhat limited over the years, but I will give you a warning. Red is not good.
It is not good.
It is not good.
I think there are many games that have taught me that red is bad. It took a lot of time to drill it in, but I think I'm getting it now.
He's really losing that time to Tonkonen now. Really should have seen that. I actually did this in a race a few weeks ago where I thought, screw it, I really want to do one more lap because that was my strategy I outlaid. But this is what you were saying at the start of the race. Sometimes you need to react, and that was probably the time he should have reacted. He's probably done this for fueling purposes because he probably wouldn't have made the fuel work if he went in one lap early. But he has now got around the track. He has lost himself probably about 2 or 3 seconds through his escapades there. So not a complete loss, but he is certainly made it quite harder for him to compete up there at the top. And certainly from a fueling point of view, you can see KGN has done much better in his fueling than Schmergen has. Schmergen completely run out of his fuel, whereas KGN has still got plenty of fuel and still a bit of tyres left. So if he can make it count, KGN could come out of this situation in P2.
So, go back to what you were saying with Schmergen still trying to stick to what seems to be a pre-laid plan.
Mm-hmm.
Do you reckon he would be happy, almost kind of coming into it expecting that Tonkonen's going to take P1 and his strategy is based on getting P2, so his entire pushing the tyres but losing out that position to Tonkonen is nothing to him because he has already planned that Tonkonen will take P1 and he will just use whatever.
I think the risk he's run now is he's put himself at risk of losing P2. This is inherently the issue, that he's run his tyres bald, he's lost himself a couple of seconds, he's not fuel saved as effectively as these other drivers, and ultimately I think it's going to lose him one if not 2 positions in this race. Evil Cat picking up a bit of a penalty there for must be running a bit of a track limit, so that's going to hurt him in terms of a little bit of time. We can see the other drivers now out on track. Schmergen now finds himself in P5, but obviously with a fresh set of soft tyres. Taff is gone again with a set of softs, so he hasn't yet put on his mediums, but he does have to put on a set before the end of the race. Tonkonen now has come into pit, So it'll be interesting to see now how much the time difference is by the time Schmergen comes around, and likewise with KGN. So we're going to stay on board with Schmergen. That's going to be the one to tell. I'm calling it out now that I'm going to see KGN coming out in front of Schmergen. This is depending on how much he refuels by. So certainly that you can see Lazy in front here in P4. Obviously a pit stop behind, grabbed himself a half-second penalty. So this should afford Schmergen an easy move without getting held up too much by Schmergen and by Lazy, unless he loses there, which he didn't. So he's going to get that half-second penalty, and you've got to go round him, mate. Made that a bit of a late move, but he got round him, and he is now carrying on.
Yeah, so he's come out ahead of KGN and,
I think
Evil.
KGN, you see KGN's come out with 100% of fuel though. So KGN's put a lot more fuel in his tank than what Schmergen did. So yeah, I haven't called it right. Schmergen has come out in front of KGN, but KGN has pretty much filled up his entire tank where Schmergen didn't. And again, that is going to pay. Like almost that will play out unless KGN has a spin or something and loses that time he's manages to game through his strategy. I still probably favour KGN for this race from a strategy point of view. Unless it comes down to lap time. You know, we can see here Schmergen can get in those 33s, 34s, and let's have a look at KGN's lap times. He's yet to burst that 34 barrier, so if Schmergen can get consistency on those 33s, he might be able to make his pace difference really count. Another factor here is KGN has found himself behind Lazy, so he might find he might lose a little bit of time until he makes the move, because Lazy has no reason to give this place to him willingly. So KGN is definitely going to have to work for it, so I was down board of him. Bear in mind he's still got Crazy Taff half a second behind him. And what did Crazy Taff do on his fueling? Crazy Taff took on a lot less fuel though. It looks like Crazy Taff's looking to make that move, knowing full well that Lazy is going to be slowing down KJ outside of his ideal pace. He's going up on the inside 3 wide, coming through this corner here. And Crazy Taff thinks coming out that situation better off unless he doesn't get the run. He does get the run. I think he's still pulling away from the guys in back, so Crazy Taff comes out there. Really good move by him. KGN coming out in P4 as well, so losing out on position from Crazy Taff and obviously coming out in front of Lazy, so he's certainly not going to be holding up anymore. But KGN's not going to be happy about that. He could be disappointed that he lost out on position there. And Crazy Taff has really put himself in a strong position outside of the fueling difference, as you can see again. KGN, and Taff run himself a little bit wide there. He's managed to recover it though, as KGN kind of had to come off throttle there, because if he put his foot down he would have just sent Crazy Taff into the nether realm, I think.
Which is often my tactic for turning.
This is
but you think in looking at the long game, KGN would want to stick right on the coattails of Crazy Taff and use each other to make that ground up on Schmergen, and then try and kind of then trust that he's got superior fuel and maybe even tyre wear to outlast both Taff and Schmergen.
The less these two battle, the more chance these two have got of getting past Schmergen. So let's look at that gap between Schmergen and Crazy Taff, which has actually climbed up to 9 seconds now. So that is quite a sizable gap. Whether or not that gap will be made up by the fuel difference, you can see fuel difference here is pretty big between Schmergen, Crazy Taff and KGN. So I wouldn't say that we're completely out. That was a really ill-timed sneeze. I felt coming for at least 2 sentences before it did, and I thought, you know what, I'll be able to get to the end of it, and I didn't, so I apologise.
You take all the time you need to sneeze your heart out. Yeah, I think if I was KGN, I wouldn't be worried. I obviously we have the benefit of being able to look at the fuel and the tyre difference between KGN, Taff and Schmergen, but it seems that this was a very calculated manoeuvre there by KGN to conserve everything, to get on the fresh tyres, full fuel, and then be happy where he came out and just sit and know that he could outlast those in front of him.
So you can see Nicholas at the moment out on his medium tyres. I don't think now Nicholas is an interesting one, because I had noticed a bit of a dark horse here. Although he's been running relatively slow times, especially the last few laps, he is on the medium tyre and he's been fueled. He's still out, and everyone else has probably been in at least once, and he's still got plenty of fuel left, so he's been fuel saving like hell. So let's see how that pays off for him in terms of the positions in front.
So looking at what he's got, he could last a few more laps easily. I mean, obviously you're more of an expert on these situations than I am, so correct me if I'm wrong. And maybe look to switch to the softs for just a one-stop strategy and see if that can take him.
So Evil Cat is having a sniff at Lazy here, wanting to get past. Has Lazy gone into pit yet? He hasn't, and he's making that last as well. So again, we haven't seen the last of Lazy as well, who has been heavy fuel saving through this race to see if he can gain that bit of time. Evil Cat looking to try and get past him though. You can see again, similar as what happened before, the more that Evil Cat doesn't get this move done, the more chance he gives Lost to get up on his inside, which he has done, but it looks like Lost had to drop back there, and it looks like he's gone past Lazy. Got that straight pin, who's Lazy's now gone into pit, and now we have our 6th, 7th and 8th places in position, but it's has caused them to close up their gaps a little bit, and we might see a bit more side-by-side racing, hopefully. Let's jump up into our fight between KJN and Crazy Taff, which is widened a little bit. Taff pulling away. It felt like in that first stint Taff did have that little bit of pace, but I still don't think this fight is over when it comes to the fuel difference. Again, you can see that fuel difference between those two, and again to Schmergen, which is even bigger. Although I have to admit, Taff's fuel consumption compared to Schmergen is not that far off. He is eating through that fuel. So
I think Taff at the moment is just a middle marker that is kind of sticking in this race, and we expect to drop back quite soon. I think that as we get to the closing stages, that set P2 will be between Schmergen and KJN towards the end. But that time between Taff and Schmergen is climbing, and if KJN wants to really get into a position to strike later on, they need to start slowly grinding down that time.
yeah,
It's only been increasing. I think it's up to about 9.5 seconds now. So it's not looking great, considering I think all three will probably need to pit again by the end of this race.
I would absolutely say we're looking at a few people look like them. I don't think there's anyone who reasonably looks like they're doing the one stop, because I don't think you'd make the soft tyres last. So I think everyone's at least going to be pitting 2 times. And I suppose that opens the question, is there anyone who's going to be pitting 3 times? It'd be interesting to see that. Now you can see Evil Cat has now managed to pull a little bit of a gap here on Lost Soul, and is now pushing himself up towards where Snod is. See if he can do anything about that 3.5 second gap between him and Snod. KJN and Taff still having a bit of fight. Now Taff in a bit of trouble here because he's managed to pick himself up a half-second penalty. If now half-second, obviously you can see he's about a second in front. Half-second penalty, I reckon it's going to bring them side by side, or if not, KJN's going to get in front. Because like I said, it's not just the half-second penalty itself, it's the amount of a pace you lose due to a slowdown in the car that really can hurt you. So we'll see how this pans out, this situation, because I believe these are still the 2 closest cars on track.
Yeah, there's potential that Nicholas has either lost a place to Mortadis or has gone into pit. So we might have seen him just pitting for the first time. He dropped out the radar. He's still there. Yeah, I think he just lost the place.
Yeah, must have just lost the position, but he's still making those medium tyres last, but he's definitely going to be able to pit at the end of this race. Look at that fuel tank, it's really flashing, and he is going to be have to coming in soon. Taff has picked up even more of a penalty, extends to 1 second. He's going to be spitting feathers, I imagine. And this is going to be an easy pass now for KGN to reclaim P3. And with the superior fuel as well, it's going to make this job even harder for Taff. So you can see now he's coming offline. He's going to try and grab that slipstream as soon as he can, and KJ is going to try and take this opportunity to build the gap as much as he can. You can see that 1 second penalty, how much time he's gained there. You see what I mean? That it's not just the 1 second. He's lost almost 2 seconds there.
Yeah, and even KJM was almost a second down on Crazy Taff coming into that straight. So
it's almost 2.5 and 3 second penalty, really, isn't it?
Yeah,
Taff running himself a little bit wide again there. He might pick up another pen. See what is happening. If he does.
Nicholas has finally gone into pit at the end of this one.
And Nicholas, yes, has gone into pit, as has Miltides as well. So they'll be going out now, and I imagine they'll be coming out on a nice fresh set of soft tyres. Be interesting to see again what the fuel saving has managed to do for Nicholas, and whether he can pull himself out of those back end places and claim himself a position a bit higher up in the order. With now, Evil Cat is maintaining that gap between him and Lost Soul. He's actually gained a lot on Snod, who was 3.5 seconds ahead last time we checked in, but he is really pushing for that time. Now within 1 second of Snod. Is there a difference in tyres here? You can see here Snod is on the medium tyres, however, so that might be playing a factor in why these cars are starting to drive a bit of a smaller gap between each other.
Yeah, and the fuel seems to be about the same, if not Evil Cat. It's slightly up on Snod, but yeah, it's the tyre wear.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be, for Evil Cat, they'll have to come in at some point due to the tyres instead of the fuel, where I reckon Snod can just keep plodding along quite happily. So as long as they defend this position, make Evil Cat try and go a long way around or wear the tyre out even further, then Snod should be fine.
So Rabbit is repeating this attack on KGN, and these two drivers are both on the soft tyres, pitted at the same time, but you can see the difference in the tyre wear. Taff is chewed through his tyres where KGN is preserving his. So again, I think this is, and you can see the fuel different as well. Taff almost down to a quarter of a tank left, whereas KGN's just under half a tank, so there is going to be a markable difference. But you can see the time lost now to Schmergen. The battling between these two and the jostling has cost them in time. Schmergen, very comfortable gap between him and Tonkonen, who's now on the soft tyres and really is starting to make the race his own. But Schmergen, if he can just keep his head down, not lose it, not do anything stupid, he is going to be in a good position here for a P2, because even with the strategy difference, I think Schmergen's built himself enough as a gap here. You can look at those times consistent as hell: 34.2, 34.4, 34.2, 34.5. You know, he's had a really good stint here, and I bet he's pleased his punch, but he's going to have to keep his head down and make sure he maintains it for the second half of this race. KGN, on the other hand, you can see those time differences: 35 flat, 35 flat, 34.7, 35.3, 35.1. So it is consistent, but you can see markedly a bit slower than the pace that Schmergen has been setting in this race out.
Yeah, and you'd think that the as Crazy Tap comes into pit, the only way that KGN could get back into this race and hold on to P2 is if they don't stop before the end of the race, which is very, very unlikely looking at those tyres and that fuel.
So,
I think Schmergen has done incredibly well, whilst KGN and Crazy Tap have been fighting just to build that gap now up to 13 seconds. I think when KGN overtook Crazy Tap, it was just over 11 seconds, so it's been building when KGN has free road ahead of him. So Schmergen looking in a great position to finish P2.
I don't think we should rule out Snod for P4 as well, because I know obviously we've got Taff in the mix here, but again, from a strategy point of view, about even on fuel when it comes to KGN, and has already been running his medium tyres as well. So I don't think he's completely out of this as well. I don't think P4's completely in Taff's hands yet. I think he's really got to work for that. I think P3 is going to be a bit of a ask for him, just like I said, the difference between the two in terms of the fuel and the tyres, I think is going to make the difference between those two. Especially now KGN's got a bit of clear track to just get his head down and maybe just get his lap times in. Although he is 8 tenths down on his best here, so not making it count at the moment. But if he can get his head down for the next few laps and get a bit of consistency, maybe drill into the low 44s or maybe even break into 33s, he will secure his P2, his P3, his position in the podium.
Tonkonen and Schmergen coming to pit.
You can see Tonkonen saving a lot of fuel there. Schmergen coming in with only 5% left, using a lot of fuel, burning a lot of tyre, but it's achieving fantastic pace, and sometimes you just cannot beat pace.
Well, that's it. I mean, their driving at the moment has been fantastic, so I think they'll be very happy just to get a full tank of fuel, get the tyres in, knowing everyone else ahead of them will still need to pit, except Tonkonen, who I think, coming into this Schmergen, obviously, you always want to win, but you accept sometimes when there's just clearly a better driver on the field.
So KGN is currently our race leader, with everyone playing out in their strategies. Actually improving up on his time by almost 3 tenths there, or 2.5 tenths. So this is kind of what I was talking about. This is what he needs to do. This is the part of the race where he does need to get his head down and just focus on his pace. He's got no one on his arse. He's got no one immediately in front of him. He can just focus on where his braking zones are, getting his corners right, getting his apexes right, getting his throttling right, and just really be able to push the car as much as he can, especially since it's now still got a bit of grip left in his soft tyres. But the good thing is, when you're at this point, your fuel is low, which means your car is quite light, which means you do get a bit more pace out of your car. So it's really a case of trying to really take advantage of it now, if you can.
Yeah, I think the worry for KGN at the moment would be staying out on the track a lap or two too long, that's when they'd really lose any distance to Evil Cat, because as you can see, Tonkanen is very quickly closing that gap down, now coming up to 6 seconds after it was about 7 or 8 at the after Tonkanen came out of the pits. So yeah, you reckon as Tonkanen passes, does KGN try and slip in and just hold on to the coattails for as long as possible, get a bit of extra slipstream?
Yeah. I mean, like, I would not defend against Tonkanen whatsoever. I'd leave my door completely wide open for him to step through it and then just grab as much slipstream as possible, to try and again just gain any advantage. If you gain a few temps, if you can, it all adds up by the end of the race, especially in these longer form endurance races. Which, you know, I suppose some people would call a 40-minute race is an endurance race, but, you know, we're talking about people who are mostly in their mid-40s and are normally asleep by now.
Yeah, when Telephone does get to the edges, we see Snod come out with the pit out lane.
Snood. So yeah, we can see Taff still got a comfortable gap on Snod of about 3.5 seconds. So I don't think he's going to be threatened too much about Snod through this period. But we've got to remember Snod is on the soft tyre here, and Taff is now on his slow and medium stint. So maybe this is the time for Snod to make that his advantage. Got Schmergen 15 seconds in front of him, so he's under no threat whatsoever from Schmergen. Whether or not Taff can do anything about getting himself into P3, I think it's going to be a hard ask for him now, but I know what he's like. He's certainly going to give it his best.
Yeah, I think Taff now just got to focus on his race, not worry about Snod coming up behind, and not worry about the gap ahead of him. Just really crack on and see the best he can do, knowing that KGN and Evil Cat both probably still have to pit ahead. So yeah, I'm not looking at P1 or P2, but P3, as you said, is an ask, but it's still open for Taff to go for.
Like I said, I just think the strategy difference is going to pay for KJN. I really do. So it would be interesting to see. These pretty much, from what I can tell, the last person needs to go into pit, which I think he'll definitely be pitting at the end of this lap. Look at that fuel. He's got one more lap in him.
I think Evil Cat is still on kind of the one pit.
Apologies. Yeah, Evil Cat is still needing to pit as well. I think there's a few others out there, but in terms of that battle there for P3 between Taff and KGN is definitely going to be revealed now in terms of how has the strategy paid off for KGN in terms of his fuel saving and efficiency, and how long he's managed to make these kind of 2 stints on the soft last, as he does. Will be switching for his mediums at the end of this.
It's held off the time from Tonkanen pretty well. I mean, obviously it's going to be meaningless as KGN will need to come into pit probably this lap or the next. So yeah, at the end of the day, it's not really going to make too much of a difference. But you know, kind of that means he's keeping his time.
Purple sector there in medium tyres. I'm pleased about that.
I think you're very happy with that.
Losing a bit of the rear there, car. Of the car there.
A little bit of a slip there from Crazy Taff, but I don't think they'll worry too much about that. Again, they're in their own space.
KGN has gone into pit, so let's see how this pans out, and let's see how much of a gap there is between between KGN and Taff when they come over the line. I don't think Taff's going to get this quite over, but we can have a look and stay on board with him and see if he can get it done.
Yeah, with 5 laps
let's
remaining,
use this camera angle. We haven't used this one yet, have we?
Keep it interesting. I think with 5 laps remaining, KGN probably not try and go for a full tank of fuel, so it doesn't need to have the longest in pits. And on a fresher set of stuff. He's going for the mediums.
Oh, so he's coming out of pit, and you can see very comfortable gap on Taff there. Said he's really made that strategy pay. Not enough really he's gone obviously down a bit of a gap on Schmergen. I thought he would do, but Schmergen's had that pace to be able to secure himself, and he's got himself a nice comfortable 6-second gap on Taff's there, so he's really has put a firm grip on P3, and now really all we've got to look for in this race is the battle for P4. If Evil Cat, who's actually managed to get past Snod, we completely missed that. He was behind Snod, and looks like either Snod's had a slip or Evil Cat's managed to use his pace to get past. Who's actually on medium tyres, a fresh set of medium, so it looks like from a strategy point of view, actually he's come out in front of Snod, which has really mixed that things up, because I was thinking that Snod on those soft tyres might have had the pace to catch up to Taff, and now the question is Evil Cat going to be the one to bring down the entirety of Wales?
I think it's still 4 laps now to go. Mediums versus softs. So Snod should have that extra bit of pace and is as you can see is closing down the gap quite quickly. So if you can make that move work on Evil Cat, then Snod's still got this.
Yeah. We've also got a bit of is this still Miltiades behind Nicholas? Yeah, I think he might even be giving Nicholas a bit of coaching. I think that might even be what's going on there, because he's purposely been sitting behind. I know Miltiades, if he was running this race, he would be up there in P2, having a good fight with Schmergen. So I think he's just doing a bit of coaching. So Snod running his best lap there of 44, and he's making him his move up the inside here. I think he's got the run on him. Let's get a good angle. And you can see the difference between the two there. Very, very close coming into this corner. Let's see how he copes. As Evil Cat takes the outside line. Snod on the inside. Is he going to make it stick? Evil Cat looking to get the cut back on him. And it looks like Snod has protected the position. Has that pace to run out. A little bit of a gap between Evil Cat and him. So good move there from Snod. Managed to get that move done. It's whether or not there's enough race for him to develop the gap on Evil Cat, who looks like he might be making another return move coming up through here. I don't think he has. I don't think he's got enough time. Oh, actually, Snod comes out, outbreaks himself there, and actually just gifts the position back to Evil Cat, which is a shame, really, because we could have hopefully seen Evil Cat running a bit wide there, might have almost clipped the wall.
Yeah, this battle is still not over.
Yeah,
the two of them, they're running well, but they're making a few little mistakes here towards the end of the race, which is just gifting each other the position.
We are losing a little bit of grip there. Snod. I don't think Evil Cat's got the best connection to this lobby here. You can see his car being a bit shaky, which if I was Snod, I'd be very nervous about. Nothing worse than being next to a shaky car, but sometimes this is just the nature of online racing.
He's made it work so far. Did a very good takeover on that long straight going into the hairpin turn.
Yeah.
So hopefully Snod can just stick on the rear of Evil Cat and wait for his opportunity, because I think there will be at least one or two more opportunities in this battle.
So Taff will probably be feeling pretty secure about his P4 at the moment, as long as he doesn't do anything massively stupid, get himself any massive track penalties. He's run himself really wide on that corner. He's got to be careful of that. You can see the time he's losing now due to that. As I think is Snod. No, there's quite a comfortable gap between these two. We might be seeing what might be the finishing order starting to develop here, Al.
I think so, yeah. With 2 laps going, Tonkanen, no doubt, clear out on front. Schmergen, I believe that gap was too big. We haven't seen where he's sitting now, but I doubt it's ground down massively. And then 8 seconds between Crazy Taff and KJN. That's, unless there's a mistake somewhere, I reckon this is going to be, or the top 4 I think is possibly set. But absolutely. Evil Cat and Taff, all it takes is one slip and they're right on the tail, and Snod will follow up quickly. So there could be those 3. I think are the only positions that can change. Yeah,
that could again. It's going to involve a slip or a mistake, or someone just finding like a kind of final wind here. I mean, Evil Cat is within a second, so it's certainly feasible, and he is on the softer compound, so again does have that bit of an edge. Crazy Taff still, not completely safe. 2.5 seconds is a comfortable gap, but it's kind of like being 2-0 ahead. All it takes is one goal, and suddenly you're under threat.
I'd say before is Crazy Taff's to lose. It's still losable, but I don't think Evil Cat can do enough without Crazy Taff having to make a mistake.
Yeah, which I think, as much as he'd probably be the first to say, he does have it in him. But hopefully he can get his head down, get his kind of focus on it, as he loses a couple of attempts through that corner. Again,
he's in the very late bit.
But Evil Cat as well in a precarious position, because what do you do here? Do you push, knowing that you possibly could grind back on Crazy Taff, or do you push too hard, you spin yourself, and you're going to lose out to Snod. But again, if you don't push hard enough, then we did see a little bit of slippage there. But if you don't push hard enough, you can lose out to Snod. So it is a tricky one. Now Taff is losing out some pace here. He has got right down to about a half-second gap. What has happened to Taff? He must have hit the wall. You can see he's got some damage on the front of his car. So he must have clipped the wall going through. And now he's put himself in a very precarious situation.
and that's what Evil Cat needed to do. If I was in Evil Cat's position with the time splits that were, all you need to do is you sit back, you run your race, and try and hold on to your position, and wait for a mistake to come up ahead, and that is what's happening at the moment.
And Snod's not completely out of this as well. I mean, there's only a 2-second gap between Crazy Taff and Snod. Taff has managed to recover and is actually starting to develop a gap again, although the slipstream is making that hard to pull away. Likewise, not quite a similar gap between Evil Cat and Snod. So again, Evil Cat not necessarily in a very comfortable position either, but is going to be hoping that Crazy Taff is going to make a slip on this final lap as we come round now to the first corner of the final lap. As Crazy Taff does again clip a little bit of that wall. Is that going to be enough for Evil Cat to get past? Let's go on board. He definitely has the pace on. You can see that time coming down. Is he going to have enough of a run to get alongside for a move? I'm not sure.
I think Taff might have just held this. There's a chance Evil Cat could look in the next corner for a little peek, but I don't see it happening.
Taking that inside line, protecting his position if he can. Is Evil Cat going to get the run here? He's going to go alongside. Is he going to get the move done? As Tonkanen comes over the line to win the race. I know we should probably be on board congratulating him for winning, but we all knew it was going to happen. So congratulations to him. But this is where the action's happening at the moment, with Taff wanting to return the position, but he's also got Snod up behind him as well, looking to gives him a little kiss on the rear there. Not enough to send it off, but enough there to make him have to sit back. Is he going to have another attack here? I think Taff is going to have to admit he's lost this one for Evil Cat, but is he going to have to lose P5 as well? Taff going on the inside into the final corner of the race. Congratulations, Schmergen, on your P2 as well. But this is where we're going to see a close finish, and I think Taff is going to hold his P5. Evil Cat coming in with P4. Well done, Evil Cat. Taff getting in P5, probably a little disappointed he couldn't keep on to his P4. Snod coming in at P6, probably disappointed he couldn't gain a position there through a little bit of last lap action. Lost Soul coming over, probably been very pleased with his P7, so well done there, Lost Soul. Now Nicholas now finds himself in P8, so this is kind of what I was talking about earlier with, although Nicholas was kind of in P9 for a lot of this race, I saw he was doing a lot of fuel saving. Now he does have a little bit of an issue that he's almost out of fuel. In fact, I think he has run out of fuel now. So has he got enough, or is Lazy Dutchman going to get past before he gets over the line? Because Nicholas has run out of fuel. He's going to get past and he's going to take back P8. So Nicholas almost made the strategy work for him with his fuel saving effort, but unfortunately stretched himself too far, getting himself P9. Multido to come in P10 and Lazy coming in at P11. And that was quite an action-packed end to the race there, Al.
It was, yeah. I mean, I didn't think it was going to happen, but I was proven wrong almost immediately with Evil Cat making that move there on Crazy Taff, who, would be very disappointed to lose right at the end that position. But I think Taff should be very proud that he held on the Snod's advances as well, because it was very easy in that position to lose two to back, especially when you've got the two behind you racing each other and really making a go of it to lose one position, then lose the other almost immediately. So I think Taff did well to hold on.
No, he did really well. Oh yeah, that was
to be P1. Schmergen very quickly established themselves as the threat coming into P2 and made their strategy work. KJN did incredibly well to try and hold on to that and push themselves to P3. So I think they should be very, very happy with that.
The strategy that secured the podium finish for KJN really did.
Yeah, I think both Schmergen and KJN ran a great strategy, which got them on P1, P2, and P3 respectively. Evil Cat had a few slip-ups, but did incredibly well to climb the ranks and get fourth right at the end there. And yeah, Crazy Taff, like we said, a little bit disappointed with kind of the sloppy end on some of those turns. Basically, a few of his errors losing him P4 instead of other drivers performing exceptionally well. A little bit of disappointment there, but I think Crazy Taff should not be too disappointed with P5.
No.
Still ran a great race, and Snod in P6 also running a great race.
I think it was a really fun race to commentate, and it's nice to come back to it. After a lot of time not be able to commentate over our races and stuff. Over the years we've had a lot of races, a lot of really good leagues, a lot of really fun racing that we've kind of not been able to bring in terms of coverage. So it's nice to be able to bring this back, and hopefully the guys who took part in the race and I can watch it back and sort of enjoy. what happened in other areas of the track and not just exclusively what happened on their area, because yeah, that's what a race is all about. What's the story being told across the track, really. And yeah, I think tonight I told a pretty good story, which is the guy who won was the guy who thought would win. It's kind of like watching, you know, like Empire Strikes Back. You kind of know that they're going to win by the fact it's called Empire Strikes Back.
And yeah, I think the entire field did incredibly well. Some very talented drivers. I think Nicholas learned probably a lot from that race.
Yeah.
Just in terms of they had an incredible strategy going.
Yeah.
And
definitely could have gotten P8. It looks like he just, like I said, run out of fuel on that last stretch there, which is a shame. I think he'll be a bit disappointed not to get himself that P8. But at the same time, you know, can't fault him for having a go at it. Really can't at all.
50 odd, 100 odd meters away from getting that P8 secured. I think there's a few lessons in there that they'll go away with and be learning. And that's, I guess, when you lose a position that tightly or to an area right at the end, then you learn a lot from it. And hopefully the next race come back, and if they try that strategy again, it's a bit more fine-tuned, and who knows, we might see some good things coming in the future.
Right, well, this brings us to the end of our coverage of tonight's race. Our plans going forward with our coverage is not going to be kind of what we did before, which we used to cover entire kind of season, whereas in general I think we're just going to sort of hop on any kind of race across all the leagues we kind of offer, and just bring people kind of, you know, what we're doing and the races that are going on, because each race is individual and each race is kind of enjoyable in its own right. So the next time you see from us, you'll hear from us in the Discord. If you want to join and do any kind of racing with us, feel free to join in. We try and give the cleanest races we can and try and have some fun races. We've got people with all sorts of pace levels and people that are there to help each other out. So a real fun community, and we all get on really well. So yeah, feel free to join in by clicking on the Discord link and coming in and saying hi. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next race. And Al, thank you so much for joining me.
Always a pleasure. I look forward to joining you again.
Thanks everyone. Cheers.